Can't believe I'm gonna be late for this interview. How am I going to get down the road? I don't believe this.
Taxi! I'm on it up. 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 And I in a taxi. No money to
Hey, this is Empress Zingha. Happy Independence to you. This week, our feature interview, y'all already know him. This is Edwin Yearwood. What going on?
Yeah, what's going on?
Thanks so much for being a part of this. This is really, really, really nice.
My pleasure, my pleasure.
So I'm gonna go a little ways back, not too far back, but I remember seeing an interview whilst looking around at Edwin, trying to get a really good sense of who you are. Mm-hmm. And the first thing I saw was this interview by Richard Stout. And he was talking about the first time he met you. And I think it was during the Richard Stout Teen Talent Contest. Mm-hmm. And you end up at his house, more or less auditioning for him to be in this competition. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
That was a while ago. I will have to start from the fact that I was born in the Bayland but raised in St. Barnabas. And there was a group of 4-H club members who were into music like crazy and into community. And my mom used to let me go into this tall tamarind tree. So I used to go to the top of the tamarind tree with a guitar, teaching myself on a recorder and singing. So one of these guys passed and heard me singing. I wasn't aware anybody was down there. They wouldn't leave till I get down, and my curfew was 6 o'clock. If not, it was cut pooch. So I had to get down. Long and short of the story, we were very, very poor. So this village took me in. I was liming where they were playing dominoes and the Teen Talent was on. And they said, wait, you don't want to enter that? And I said, I don't know. They said, well, we're entering you, and that was the end of it. And they put me on the back of a motorcycle and took me to Richard Stout's house. And he said, they were like, he said, well, this little bony boy going, where you going? And I started singing. He said, stop. All right, you're entering. And that was where it started from. Yeah.
So throughout that entire experience of being in Richard Stout, that has changed you a lot as a person, you think, in terms of where your life is now and how it could have been?
I wouldn't say that it changed me then, because after the Teen Talent, I was just like 12, because I was one of the youngest winners. And after the Teen Talent, I still had school. I still had a whole lot of things to do before, But I knew I wanted to be an entertainer. I knew I wanted to be a singer. I knew I wanted to be involved in music. And I thought that the Teen Talent, as it is a very integral part of entertainment in Barbados and should be respected as that. And I think it was a springboard, regardless of where I really started after that. I thought that it was important to get your feet wet, and that was the right place to be.
After Teen Talent, you hit Crossfire, you meet with Nicholas Branca, and you start becoming Edwin Yearwood. I remember the first time I hear Pump Me Up with the music, and I think I was still in secondary school. And even the thing is about what happened in that era is that it wasn't just for like younger people. Like my mother was singing that in the kitchen with me, cooking and dancing with me. So I found out the music which was created, it touched every person in Barbados and obviously the rest of the world as well.
It was a different time. It wasn't too far left or too far right. It was just right. Mm-hmm. It wasn't something that we had as a formula. We just worked. And it just worked. I always was fairly respectful of particular things, and I believe that had a lot to do with the writing. Mm-hmm. And it was able to reach so many different. The demographics were crazy. Mm-hmm. To see babies, well, toddlers really, and grandparents, all in something like a fair, mm-hmm. and everybody singing. It was really moving to see those things so constantly as you move around Barbados. Mm-hmm. And then beyond the shores of Barbados, as it got bigger, it continued. You would go to Trinidad or Jamaica, and you're doing an open day, something or the other, some music festival, and young kids would be singing what their grandparents singing, and that was awesome. That was a real awesome feeling.
Tell me now about working with Nicholas Branca, the Nicholas Branca, and being a part of that entity in that era?
Nicholas Branca is crazy, and I think that because he's such a crazy, it speaks in his music because he's not afraid to try anything. You know, he doesn't there's no holes bar. He just does what he has to do. And for me, it wasn't like a walk in the park because after the Teen Talent, as I said, for a good 10 years, I was just out in the wilderness. Nobody was taking me on, or you know, everybody who was in the Teen Talent with me that year actually started to get breaks, and I used to be walking around watching them perform and feeling so glum. You know, but one night Crossfire was performing at a place called the Beach Club, and Nicholas Branca was performing there as well. He had performed first, and when we finished performing, he heard me singing, and he told somebody to call me over, and when I went over, he said he was doing this. He has this little bedroom studio. He would like to record me, and I told him, well, I would like to sing some soca music, blah blah blah. He said, well, he would do it for me if I recorded this song that he wanted me to record, and it just went from there. After that, it was like pure, we just clicked and worked on so many things, and everything just went from there.
Now, after you kind of branch off into Crossfire, and people are getting more and more aware of who you are as a singer, you decided to branch off into your own solo career, more or less, and you started to become the general of soca. Where on earth did that nickname come from?
That nickname came from the guys in the band. Tony Rebel started it, and he started it before he was in Crossfire. He started it because I was taking any show I could possibly get, and there were open mic shows in the heart of Bridgetown at that time. And I was performing on stage. I was performing a song by Third World called Forbidden Love. And he was somewhere in the audience. And he said that he saw me and he was like, this man's a general. So when we actually brought him in, when we were looking around, we said we were starting Crossfire, we said we needed a guitarist. We were driving, going through parish land, and saw the guy sitting down by a church playing. And it's incredible that we were going by somebody, but we saw a guitar, so we decided to just stop and talk to him. And one thing led to another. He was like, I know you, I know you is the general. I said, huh? And he said, you's done. For he told me you sing, I said, well, you's a general. And he never let up. He never let up since then.
People will see you on stage as a star. But then there is Edwin, who is Edwin to maybe family and very close friends. Seeing you on stage, I think there are like two main ones that I remember. One was when you had won the Pick of the Crop finals and Drifting Stranger, you were going up. I saw a abandonness when you were performing that song. Is that you're not here. You're here, but you're not here. You just let go and become the music as it plays with you. Actually, later three. The second one was when you won Sweet Soca, and I remember being at Brett Linton's apartment. My husband was there too. And we was watching this thing, and we was like, yeah, boy, General came true, and thing. And then the key changed. I was like, all right, cool, man. Yeah, he could sing. And then it changed again. And then it went real high. I was like, all right, there is no way he could get her there. And you went up there. Was like, call then. How you get that dude? And the third one, which actually is kind of bittersweet, was when the late Carew had passed on, and you had sang at his funeral. Those were the three ones that I can attest as a fan, can remember seeing you just letting go. How do you see your spirit performing on stage, or what happens to your spirit when you perform on stage?
Yes, that's a question bigger than myself, but I will attempt. I do believe, like I would tell my girlfriend, please, when you're addressing me, address Eddie. Don't address Edwin. Don't address the general. Don't speak to me when we are together as if I'm the general. I just believe, if you want to call it schizophrenic, we're just two completely different people. I am really almost an introvert, if you get me, off stage. I like four little walls and a TV watching Manchester United, and that's about my most exciting moment. And a lot of people don't understand that. Sometimes you need that alone time, but I always was like that. I think I have too much alone time, actually. When I get on the stage, I mean, I can tell you, even just before the stage, before they announce my name, I'm nervous. Especially in competition, because competition you tend to want to execute. Yeah. But I was always someone who never ever stuck to a game plan. I never stuck to, when I say that, I mean in terms of singing a particular way. I never rehearsed when I was rehearsing like the same for the same Sweet Soca, I never rehearsed singing in any particular way. I just knew that I wanted to get the key changes. I wasn't sure that I would hit them on that night because I actually was hoarse that night. I was really we were working like crazy backstage to get a voice. So in a nutshell, I am a completely different person. Years ago, I did this thing with Anthony Robbins in California, a class where you can go into character. If that's probably the best way to put it, you go into character, and that's how I see Edwin Yearwood, the general, as a character who his job is to go on stage and perform and entertain, and when he's finished, he just goes back into a shell, So it's completely two different people. The things that I look back sometimes and see that I did on stage, I'd be like, oh my god, that kind of thing, So, and I'm a spur of the moment. I like spontaneity, and I love that in a performance as well. So sometimes it just goes totally off script.
Now you have been a entrepreneur, musical entrepreneur now for quite some time, and you probably have a zillion one stories. If we start to open, as you said, the can of worms, we can be here forever. But how has it been from more or less auditioning for Richard Stout to go into a competition to this moment as an entrepreneur?
It has been hell. I came from the exact time where it was crossing over to entertainers, not just being entertainers who would. But when I started to become professional, if you will, entertainers, it wasn't seen as a job. It wasn't seen as a career option in Barbados at all. I mean, at all. To the point where when you speak to people and tell people you were an entertainer, they were like, so what job do you have? And that's one of the things that Crossfire at the time, that we sat down and met and said we need to let people see, because there were so many things going on in Barbados at the time where, like, the uprising of youth, that there were these negative vibes about young people, and we thought that we needed to kind of consciously grab that and run with it to the standpoint where we push as many positive messages. So we thought that one of the things would be to show people there are other ways along with academic, with studying and stuff like that. And we thought that if you express yourself, your talents and stuff like that, and go after it as a career option, that might be a good choice. But we had a lot of fight down, because I remember going to banks and saying, I would like a little loan, you know what I'm saying? And they're like,
Where the income come from?
yeah, it was a lot of, we had a lot of fight down, and my aim after that, my goal was to make sure that we make we pave a way enough that anybody who comes in it can be taken seriously, at least as a career option. What we did first and foremost was consciously give up our day jobs. We had to. It was a conscious decision and sacrifice. We made many days getting cussed by children mothers and stuff like that, but it paid off in the end, because people started to respect what was going on across the board, from government right back down to the average person in the street. Recognized that these CDs that we have are actually for sale and not for giveaways all the time, blah 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 blah, and it started to build to the point where about 5 years later I went back to the same financial facility, and I went back to the same exact woman, and I had a whole heap of documents to show her, and books well kept and stuff like that, and she eventually said, listen to me, I just don't like to give money to entertainers. And that was it. As I was walking out, the owner, I didn't even know it was the owner, this little guy passed me, a little short guy, was, Edwin Yearwood, how you doing? I was like, yeah, I was fairly dejected. Yeah, good. And as I was driving going home, because he asked, you get through? I think I found that strange that he would ask. I said, I cool. I left, and as I was driving going home, I got this call from the same lady saying to come back. He was the owner, and basically he was like, you need to give these people an opportunity, blah blah blah. And I thought that was awesome, and it just went from there, where you could actually go and present your papers and your documents and take up a car like anybody else, or a refrigerator or whatever, So those were the stepping stones. And then what we started to do throughout the Caribbean was advocate that as much as possible, that when you get into this thing and you take it serious, the sky is the limit.
How would you tell a younger person now coming up? You're leaving BCC, you might be on the open mic scene, you might be getting ready to launch an EP. but their minds right now is about social media and getting known and not getting the other important part, which is the finances of it. What would you tell younger entertainers to do?
I'll tell them just what I was told by Anthony Robbins. It when you really look at the word, it has a hyphen in between for a reason. Show business, and there's one part which is show, and there's the other part which is business. And if you're going to be successful, the show can't do without the business, and the business can't do without the show. And when you recognize that the two of them are one, then you start to operate. You cannot go forward without a fairly decent education. You cannot go forward in entertainment without some level of knowledge of marketing. You can't go forward in entertainment. Let me just put it this way: some of the least talented people in the world can make it if they have show business, if they have the business side of it intact. So it's important to learn all those things. It's important to get as educated as possible with copyright. I had to do a crash course and learn all that as we went along. The late great Arrow really pushed that in me, because Arrow still has the most the biggest selling soca record of all time, which is Hot Hot Hot. And the royalties, if you saw his royalty checks, you would just freak out, and I had to produce an album for him one year, and that's when him and I became pretty close, and he recognized certain things, and he started calling shots. I was like, whoa, he called a lawyer who used to work for PRS in England, and the lawyer used to work in what they called at that time the orchestra department, and he said, could you check this song? This little boy here telling me that he was never paid for this song. And in 3 or 4, no, let me tell you, like, about within like a week or so, they called me and said it was a check for me. I was like, you kidding me? So he taught me the business a lot, where to dig, and after a while, he started recognizing that what we might think is happening to the soca music or the local music here really isn't. I read statements where 3 or 4 of my songs were being played on rotation in Iceland and in parts of Europe that you would never think, but it's a matter of who you get to search for these things and stuff like that, because you can't leave everything up to the Copyright Society here alone. They are now growing themselves, so it for me, as I would say to the young people, it's about showing business, and it's important to learn the business along with this show.
There are many people who still believe, even though there are even people like Michelle, if you want to go cross regionally and hit Trinidad, who have been making money. Our own Lil Rick as well has been making waves along with yourself and many others, Alison Hines. But there's still people who don't think that Bajan music can hit the mark and go international. Why do you think that there's still a drawback where that is concerned?
I wish I could. Let me try to answer that, but I have to go from a different angle. I almost agree one side that it's going to take a lot of growing, a lot of building, and we kind of are backward with it, because, and this is not just Barbados, this is the West Indies. From this standpoint, you would have seen Justin Bieber and those guys took the genre and pulled pieces of it and making tons of money. I always make the example of reggaeton. Reggaeton came on the scene long after soca music. It doesn't have the vibe necessarily that soca music has. If you see soca music, when I perform in places like the New Orleans Jazz Festival, Montreal Jazz Festival, places like Reggae on the River in California, some music festivals that are just not Caribbean oriented, and when you see soca land, I will go on camera and say that I remember Kurt Franklin being really upset that Crossfire went on before him at New Orleans Jazz Festival. I remember Maxi Priest demanding, because we were on a particular tour, demanding that he does not go on after Crossfire anymore. And it's not that we were all fantastic, it's just the vibe of soca music, right? I would have to interject here and say that I think that soca artists, if they really work hard, can make a decent living. It's not, I think soca music is still the least paying genre in the world, but I believe that has a lot to do with the fact that you won't see it at the Grammys anytime soon, for the main reason of finance. A lot of people, when Kevin Little hit with Turn Me On, that blew everything open, and it was headed there, but it was not sustainable, because at the end of the day, if I'm associated with Grammys and stuff like that, it is about numbers. And reggaeton comes and it sells millions. The units are like crazy because the Latin world will support reggaeton. Soca artists usually have to give away their product. There are no sales. They're hard. You can. Crossfire did really well in the late 90s to 2000 what's not by having a CD gone over 200,000 copies and went gold in Canada. That's not going to happen anytime soon. Not because, and it's a sad thing because people don't really buy in the Caribbean. We are more a live event kind of people, and you can't ask them to go online and purchase Edwin Yearwood's CD or Marshall Montano's CD or Rupee's CDs, because they just don't do it. By the time the song is released, I remember my song was not released, and I was standing up in a bank and I heard somebody's ringtone with the song, and this is just how it goes. It's not something to knock people, but if you want it to go forward, and if you want the Grammys and all those people to recognize, they recognize by units sold, they recognize by numbers. So if you don't have that volume of if the Caribbean used to pick up a Marshall Montana CD across the board, we have enough people in the Caribbean. If you paid $1.99 for one of his songs, he could retire after a while, and those people will take notice and say what's going on in the Caribbean. But as it stands right now, they know that you can sell probably you can sell more than 2,000 units per person.
Is there then a lot of support where the buying comes from in terms regionally, not only Barbados but regionally?
Yes, it's across the board. As I said, it's West Indians. It's the mentality. Period. It's not just in the Caribbean. West Indians live abroad. We tend to. I remember sitting down beside this lady who is from Barbados, and she's rich. And basically, her mindset was, I can't wait till George send me up the CDs. It was not like, let me go and purchase. So it's a mindset, it's a mentality that I don't think that we will get out of it anytime soon. We started to climb out of that, but technology caught up to us, and the CD era is gone basically, and there's another era, and because of that, a lot of younger artists just put their music out on video or on online. It's done. That's the end of it. You can't get sales after that. So it's going into a different time. But that's the reason I believe more than anything else that soca music has not gone to the other place and be recognized as soca music, because the genre has been raped and ripped apart. In places like Holland, you would not believe how much soca music plays on the airwaves. You would not believe it. A ton of soca music, to the point where their artists make soca rhythms and sing on it, and it's top 10 stuff for them. So we know that it's out there.
Now, when you go overseas, do you miss home at all? Because I know you just went and do a whole spiel. This up your IG, you went all over the place, and you now come back, pop down and tired, go rest to go again. But do you feel that you miss home? Do you miss home at all? And what is the response like when you go to Europe and they hear our music?
I've been doing this for so long that I've become immune to missing home. That's probably the best way to put it. In the early days, I stopped celebrating or stopped looking forward to Christmases and those kind of things from a standpoint of many years ago when my daughter was a baby. I would promise her that I would get home for Christmas, and Crossfire started touring like crazy. And this one day I made the promoter send me back that we would get home, even if I got home at 2 in the afternoon for Christmas to see her. And we got stuck in Antigua, the pilot strike, and we had to spend Christmas in Antigua airport. So we made the best of it in there, singing and doing all kind of crap in the airport. And eventually we got out. By the time I got to Barbados, Christmas was over, And so from that, Boxing Day, all those things, I used to be out of Barbados all the time, and I still am out of Barbados. I've not been here for Christmas for a long time, so I don't really necessarily miss home. I focus on my job until I can't do it anymore, until I retire, and then if I live long enough, I would celebrate and make it for all those things, because this kind of music, this kind of job, you can't necessarily ignore it when you have the time to deal with it. You can't say, all right, these 3 Christmases, we don't have the luxury of the other genres where an R&B singer can bring out a hit song and doesn't have to work for another 4 years. He or she can say, I'm taking time for my family, blah, blah, blah. We have to come up with these songs every year. We have to keep touring to generate, you know. I love touring. Don't get me wrong, I love that. But the family side of it, you know, I feel sorry for my family in many ways. If they're dependent on my love and my support for anything, I miss a lot of things. But I don't necessarily, I can't say that I as a person miss it. I've gotten so used to it.
What is it that you want to leave behind, or what is it that you want to be remembered for?
I would want to be remembered for that particular artist who wrote beautiful melodies, who wanted every single year to produce something that lives on. One of the things that I love about what's been happening to my music is the fact that a lot of people count you out for crop over, and by the time the end of the year, the song is, everybody's singing the song. And the next year is almost like if this is a song we just released for the crop over, it just grows and grows. Being on the Uber Circle Cruise the other day, I was bombarded by DJs from all over the world who said basically the same thing. You have a catalog there, boy, that when the party bad, boy, we put on pumping up on it. Done, boy, people come on, pan it, boy, thank you, boy, thank you. It woke me up from the point of view of I never really recognized stuff like that, you know. But to have so many coming from different places and telling you, I'm from Canada, I'm from this place, I'm from that place, and saying the same thing, you just have to say, wow. So for me, I would love to be able to remember that somebody who put quality or try to put the emphasis in beautiful music out there.
Well, guys, that has been our interview. This it is. What you see now, he can do all this stuff now that they interviewed them. Where we could find every year with my cameraman asked me where we could find anywhere, but anyhow, just in case.
You can find me anywhere. Sanitation, you can find me anywhere. Just put in Edwin Yearwood. You can trust me. You can find me sanitation. You can find me France. You can find me Holland. Getting ready for Dubai. You can find me in my backyard. Everything.
Please don't go in my backyard. But it has been great sitting down talking with you, Erin. It has been great. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. I really don't have room for blushes, but if I did, that was one. But I appreciate it. I thought that was awesome. I'm glad that you allowed me to share my experiences.
Well, guys, happy Independence. This has been our feature. And we can see you somewhere sometime soon.